Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting agenda. The time is now 6:09 p.m. in the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center. Item number 1 is call to order. Members of the public who attend the meeting physically are asked to maintain distance between other parties, and masks are optional for all attendees per City of Tempe policy. Alternatively, members of the public may attend the meeting virtually through Cisco WebEx events by visiting tempe.gov/councilmeetinginfo. For more information. Council meetings can also be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. I'd like to now invite everyone who's willing and able to stand to join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Next, I'm going to turn to item number 4, meeting minutes. Tonight, I'm going to be assisted by Councilmember Keating. Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move we approve item 4B 1 through 10.
It's been moved by Councilmember Keating to approve items 4B 1 through 10. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hodge. With that, let's get to the voting here. All right, well, mine is, oh, there it is. Okay, it's not mine. All right, well, something's wrong with my screen here, but I vote aye as well. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Okay, and that item passes 7-0. Next up is item 5, reports and announcements. I've got one announcement today, actually a couple of announcements. I'd like to see if the council could join me down at the front for this one. This evening, we're going to be talking about Tempe Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I've got a proclamation. And I know we've got a number of people here from the Tempe Police Department. I know also our Sergeant Rob Ferraro, our Tempe Officers Association president, is here as well. And other folks from the police department are invited to join us down at the front. I also, before I even go down, wanted to thank a couple of people, Bill Loffridge and Linda Arters, for helping to put this together as well. They did a lot of legwork, and so we really appreciate your efforts in recognizing our law enforcement. Actually, all right. So we've got Maria Dyer Kircher here who's going to say a couple of words before we get started with the proclamation. So I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Linda for going through trouble and Bill for working on this proclamation. It means a lot to all the officers that are working now, as well as some of us retirees, and certainly the families of fallen officers. So thank you.
And Linda Arters as well, who I referenced earlier, please.
Good evening, everyone. I had the wonderful distinction of being the city's first community relations manager when Harry Mitchell was our mayor. And I learned so much about municipalities and my hometown that 30-some years I've been here. But what I've wanted to do for so long is I always see the people behind the scenes, and I remember so many people in all the departments here at the city that take care of all of us. But in particular, my heart's always been with fire, EMS, and law enforcement. Although I will admit, when I've done ride-alongs, I have no problem with the fire trucks or the ambulances. But with these guys, I'm gradually underneath the dashboard. I have so much so much respect for them, and I just think this is a long time coming to get recognition for our law enforcement. And I know Mayor Woods was willing to be the first city in this state to actually start recognizing them on this Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, which is a national designated day. And we're going to ask all of the community, because this is a community-driven recognition, we're going to need your help to spread the word this year and in the future. So thank you, and thank you to Chief Glover for being willing to let us do this, because you're also modest. But I got to give most of the credit also to Mayor Woods. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda. And just wanted to say very quickly before I start here, I just wanted to thank the entire City Council. The reality is I have the opportunity to read proclamations to recognize so many exceptional people in our community, both employees as well as just people who live here and have contributed so much. But I could not do all of this work without the support of the entire council, and I can say all 7 of us on the entire council are very appreciative of the men and women of the Tempe Police Department, and so I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out before I started reading. Chief Glover, good to see you as well, sir. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this then, and I will present this to Chief Glover and Executive Assistant Chief Andre Anderson right after I'm done. Whereas the safety and well-being of all Tempeans is the priority and highest calling for the City of Tempe and Tempe Police Department. And whereas we recognize the sacrifices made by law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect our community, uphold the values we hold dear, and enforce the rule of law. And whereas law enforcement requires the ability to act courageously and quickly, make the right call in the face of imminent danger, and to act with empathy and compassion as one serves others in their time of greatest need. And whereas the City of Tempe and its residents are honored to stand by our dedicated law enforcement professionals, everyday heroes, and lend our wholehearted support to them as they continue to give themselves for the benefit of all. And whereas the City of Tempe encourages Tempeans to honor and show appreciation for the officers and professional staff of the Tempe Police Department, as well as active and retired law enforcement professionals residing in Tempe, and the roles they play in the safety of our homes, businesses, schools, and community as a whole. Now, therefore, I, Corey Woods, Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare January 9th, 2023 as Tempe Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Tempe, Arizona.
This is where it was in grade school, too. I think at my wedding as well.
Over here. No, it's about them. It's about them, not me. I'm happy. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Rob's got his gun on. See that?
Gotta keep it safe.
What? I'm hugging him. I'm like, oh, shit, there's some guy. What's that?
I said, yeah, that was good. We can keep going.
That's right.
I want to be out here by 7:30.
Thank you so much, everyone. My next announcement is item 5A2, which are new appointments to City of Tempe boards and commissions. I want to congratulate the individuals outlined in item 7A1 on tonight's agenda on their appointments to the City of Tempe Aviation Commission, Board of Adjustment, Commission on Disability Concerns, Human Relations Commission, Neighborhood Advisory Commission, Parks, Recreation, Golf, and Double Butte Cemetery Advisory Board, and Transportation Commission. Next up, item 5B, City Manager's Reports and Announcements. Mr. City Manager.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, next up, item number 6, Public Appearances. I've got one this evening. I've got others here for a specific item that I will call when that item comes up, but for this one, this is a separate one. So according to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed elsewhere on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Public appearances shall be limited to an aggregate total of 60 minutes. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers present at the podium must state their name and city of residence and provide a speaker card. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the meeting. Speakers will be taken first come, first serve in the order in which the cards are received. Speakers' visual aids and appearances by phone or recordings are not allowed. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed as a specific agenda item for council's consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. As I mentioned before, I do have one card this evening. That card is from Dominic Petsch. If I pronounced that correctly. Is Dominic here? Say it once again. Dominic Petsch. Okay. Once again, the items for 8C1 I have in that separate agenda item. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the City Council at this time under public appearances? If so, please get my attention. All right. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close that. Let's see here. That was quick. All right, so next up here, I want to take we're going to talk about the consent agenda next, but I'm going to take item 8C2 from the non-consent agenda for consideration at this time. So council, we will take that first. Item 8C2 is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Article 4, Division 2 of the Tempe City Code relating to stormwater retention by amending Section 73, Drainage Permits, and adding Section 74, Charges. The first public hearing for this item was held on December 15th, 2022. This item is being taken out of order just so the stormwater charge ordinance change can be considered first before the stormwater rate adoption is considered by council under item 8A4. All right, with that said, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? If so, please get my attention. Okay, if not, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion?
So move.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Hodge. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. Next up, we're going to go back to the consent agenda, which is item number 7. All items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated as public hearing item at the beginning of the item title. Council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with a disclosure form. If you wish to speak on a public hearing item, please fill out a speaker card and submit your completed card to the city clerk prior to the agenda item coming forward for council discussion. I will call your name when it is your turn for public comment. Let's see here. Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to remove item 7C7.
7C7. Anyone else on the council wishing to have any other items removed? All right. So with that said, hold on one second here, I'm sorry. All right, so I will then ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 7A10, which was removed from the agenda, and item 7C7, which was removed by Councilmember Keating. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Adams and seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. Next up, that means we will take item 7C7. And that is to adopt resolution number R2023.07 relating to resolutions number R2022.169 and R2022.178 related to the special election to be held in and for the city of Tempe, Arizona on May 16th, 2023, announcing the petition certification and sufficiency. Councilmember Keating.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would just like to thank the Coyotes organization. Promises made, promises kept. They collected double the amount of the required signatures in, what, a week's time? And I'm very pleased with this, and I know this will be just one promise fulfilled in a line of many over the years. So thank you to your organization for referring this to the people of Tempe to have the ultimate say. I appreciate you guys keeping your word and getting this done for us. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Councilmember Keating. Any other council members further comments or questions?
Yep, so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Hodge. Do I have a second? I think that was Councilmember Keating,
I'll
right?
second.
Uh-oh, that was, it's Vice Mayor Adams. Wow, that was really good, actually. All right, so with that said, moved by Councilmember Hodge and seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes unanimously 7-0. Next up, item number 8, which is the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with a disclosure form. That leads us to 8A, which is miscellaneous items, bids, contracts, and resolutions. The first item under the section is 8A1, which is to hold an additional public hearing and invite public comment on the proposed annexation of properties within Maricopa County limits and located in an area south of East Curry Road, east of North Mary Street, north of East Gilbert Drive, and west of North Miller Drive, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes, as amended. And I see Manjula Vaz always right here for the presentation.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. And Jason Wolf always ready to go with the clicker. So wonderful. Ms. Vaz, good to see you this evening. Want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Manjula Vaz, law firm of Gamage and Burnham, 2 North Central Phoenix 85004. I'll say Happy New Year first to everybody. Nice to see you all. This is a very brief presentation. This is actually just the beginning of our annexation of a project that we'll be bringing to council in the county island. So this is just the first public hearing on the annexation. I won't go through the whole presentation. We just wanted to show, just very briefly, the area in the county island is just west of the current site that is under construction right now, as you can see at Curry and Miller. And just to show, this is currently the location. It's kind of an L shape or kind of a weird diagonal shape, long site. We'll end up actually going with this council's general plan. It's mixed use. But the plan is to do a very high-quality, 5-story multifamily building. We have 334 units. We'll bring in more. But it's a really cool design. We've shown the North Tempe neighborhoods. I've just talked to Lane, and he's here to support me. Actually, he's here for something else, but he supports it. We'll have pickleball courts here. And the one thing we're doing, and I just want to show, certainly improving the county island, adding a lot of landscaping. But one thing we worked with the staff, and they've been really great, and Shelley and all our staff, is we're going to do a walking paseo that'll go east, west through the county island, and we'll talk about it more as we show the project. But we're really looking forward to help kind of build the county island and fulfilling the council's vision. So it's my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Vaz. Really appreciate it. Vice Mayor Adams?
Yes, so Ms. Vaz, I really appreciate your firm taking the lead on this and continuing to annex the county island and making it a completely different area than it once was. So thanks so much. And I know Charles Humental had done the first phase. So thank you, Charles, if you're out there, and keep up the good work. And I'm so excited for North Tempe residents to be able to look at a really nice area with lots of landscaping as opposed to what is there now. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Council, any further questions for Ms. Vaz or for members of our staff? Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. This is a public hearing item, so I wanted to see if there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item this evening. If so, please get my attention. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Just want to once again note that this item does not require any action at this time. It was just simply a public hearing item that was inviting public comment on the proposed annexation. The next item under the section is 8A2, which is to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution to modify the schedule of charges, rates, deposits, and fees for wastewater services by amending Appendix A, Schedule of Fees and Charges of the Tempe City Code. Council, any questions for staff on this item? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any further comments or discussion? Vice Mayor Adams?
Yes, I just gotten feedback from some residents that the uncontained pickup can be a little bit unclear as far as when they can put things out. So maybe if we can clarify, I know right now it has dates about when it might come out and be picked up, but people have been like missing their, they're assuming they could put it out anytime in that time frame. So I think if we could message that, hey, we might be there on the very first day of this range, just so people know, because I know I've just gotten, residents have been confused about like when they can put it out, just because there's a range. And I love the range, by the way, but I just think if we really make sure that that can happen on the very first day and communicate that with our residents, it would be really helpful. So thanks, you guys are doing a great job, by the way. David, nice to have you on board, and thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good with that, Mr. City Manager, just as a note?
Yep, message received. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. With that said, council, any other further comments or discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion on item 8A2 in a second.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Keating, seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote. Councilmember Navarro? Aye. And that item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8A3, which is to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution to modify the schedule of charges, rates, deposits, and fees for water services by amending Appendix A, Schedule of Fees and Charges of the Tempe City Code. Council, any questions for staff on this item? Is there anyone in the public wishing to address the council on this item? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion on item 8A3.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8A4, which is to adopt a resolution to modify the schedule of charges establishing a stormwater environmental charge by amending Appendix A, Schedule of Fees and Charges of the Tempe City Code. Council, any questions for staff on this item? All right. If none, I'll look for a motion on item 8A4.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Adams, seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8A5, which is to approve the utilization of one-year State of Arizona cooperative contracts with WW Granger, Paul's Ace Hardware, Brown's Parts Master, Ferguson Enterprises Incorporated, Voss Lighting, American Refrigeration Supplies, American Air Filter, and Intermountain Lock and Security for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operating supplies. Council, any comments or questions? All right, I'll look for a motion on item 8A5.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Hodge, seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote.
Aye.
And mine's telling me to reload. There we go, and that item passes 7-0. The last item under the section is 8A6, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the Regional Public Transportation Authority for the purchase and supply of transit services for fiscal year 2022-23. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion on item 8A6? Been moved by Councilmember Keating, a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item also passes 7-0. The next item under the section is non-consent agenda and ordinances. On the non-consent agenda is ordinances items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no votes will be taken. The second hearing and vote for these items is scheduled for January 26th, 2023. The first item under the section is 8B1, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from GID to MU4 and a plan area development overlay, and approve a development plan review for a new 6-story mixed-use development consisting of 343 dwelling units, 5 live-work units, and commercial use for Rio and McClintock, located at 1801 East Rio Salado Parkway. The applicant is Gambich Burnham PLC. Ms. Vaz, welcome back.
Sure. Well, thank you. I'm back. I appreciate your time. Again, for the record, my name is Manjula Vaz, the law firm of Gambich and Burnham. As you remember, before Christmas, we did a site very close to this at Rio and Perry. So this is just the addition of Rio McClintock. It's a little different. It's a little more modern, but just wanted to do a quick presentation to show you. This developer is for property who I think you know. They've built in Tempe. They're a full-service real estate company. They're one of the largest 20 multifamily developers, and there's only projects in Tempe and then in Central Phoenix if you've been on the light rail or in downtown Phoenix. So this is the site. We talked about Rio and Perry in yellow just in December, and so now we're talking about what is going to be named something else, but I call Rio and McClintock for the moment. It's not exactly McClintock, but it's in the red on the site. And as you can see here, very interesting design, a lot of articulation. We put a lot of landscaping around it, and this is the kind of the current design of right now in the Smith Hub along Rio. So our request is to rezone the site from the GID to MU4 to establish site-specific development standards and design. And our design follows the Smith Hub design guidelines, certainly going with the council policy, trying to make industrial look, bring live work, trying to bring some other residential to that area, and then also we'll talk about some of the sustainability that have been built into this. Projected land use is mixed use, and the density meets the density calculation up to 65. Our design aligns with the guidelines in the Smith Hub in terms of kind of gritty. We support little carb-reduced living. We have shade. You'll see landscaping. We also have a dog park in this project, which I know the Councilmember Hodge and Vice Mayor Adams have talked about, and I'll talk about that. And I know Councilmember Keating had talked about that. We have some spaces for artists, and there's certainly some mixed-use opportunities. So again, 343 mixed multifamily units, 41 studios. We have 5 one-bedroom live-work, 1,800 square feet of office space. We have some street-level retail. And so we have a lot of amenities. I think this will be a really nice project along Rio. We also have 522 spaces on site, 52 EV spaces, and 26 future. We're also talking to Brianne and Braden about, as we talked about last time, in terms of doing solar EV. And then in terms of our parking ratios, they're aligning with the city's guidelines. We'll go through that. So just want to show you really briefly, just in terms of the landscaping. And as you can see, on the south side, we have both this dog park, you can see there, but it's on the south end, kind of adjacent to the fire lane, and a lot of room for kind of walking as in addition to obviously the town lake. So just want to show you some pictures, and I'm happy to tape some. You can see the articulation, big shading, nice balconies for what we hope will be a very nicely designed project. So happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Vice Mayor Adams.
Yes, this is a really beautiful project. I like the looks of it a lot, and it has sustainability in it, which is great. Love to hear about the solar and the EV charging stations. So that's something that we've been working on for a long time, so I appreciate you bringing in, and most of all, you're bringing in a dog park.
Oh.
So I really, really appreciate that and incorporating that in. I know that doesn't make a lot of money for the developer, but it sure does make for a good community and a great way for neighbors to know each other.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Voss.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Adams. Any other council members, comments, or questions? No? All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Oh, Councilmember Garland.
I was just going to say that I love the project, and we talked about it before, but I really appreciate what you're doing here, so thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. This is a public hearing item, so is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Please get my attention. All right, seeing that, I'll close the public hearing. Just want to reiterate the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for January 26, 2023. The next item under this section is 8B2, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 33, Article 2, Divisions 1-2 of Tempe City Code relating to the Environmental Protection Agency's lead and copper rule revision by adding Section 33-45 and amending Sections 33-17, 33-22, and 33-38. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? All right, just want to let people know the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for January 26, 2023. The next item under the section is 8B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a portion of a well maintenance easement number 8 located on Vista del Lago Drive, Pier 202, Lot 3, Book 943, page 33. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Seeing none, second and final public hearing on this item is also scheduled for January 26, 2023. The next item under the section is 8B4, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of 2 portions of an easement for seepage recovery well maintenance located on Vista del Lago Drive, Pier 202, Lot 6, and Tract B, Book 949, page 48 of plats. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Seeing none, second and final public hearing for this item is scheduled for January 26, 2023. The last item under the section is 8B5, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a portion of a sidewalk, landscape, and public utility easement located on Vista del Lago Drive, Pier 202, Lot 6. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? All right, once again, second and final public hearing for this item is scheduled for January 26, 2023. Next up here, we have item 8C. These are ordinances and items for second hearing and final adoption. These items were first read and introduced on December 15, 2022, and votes on these items will be taken tonight. The first item under the section is 8C1, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance to amend the Tempe City Code by adding a new article to Chapter 16A relating to regulating short-term rentals and vacation rentals. Is there a staff presentation on this item? Okay, I see Tom and Lisette coming up.
Mayor, members of council, good evening. Tom Dunsing, Deputy City Manager. I'm joined here by Lisette Camacho, the Financial Services Director, excuse me. Just a couple words. We gave this presentation at the first public hearing. We'll go through this really quickly. Just like to start out by kind of teeing this up. This is an interesting process, as this legislation that led to eventual ordinances before you this evening was actually helped crafted by the short-term rental industry. So not a lot of controversy from the industry. What we're recommending tonight is the maximum that we can do to regulate short-term rentals in Tempe that the law allows. Quite simply, we can't go any further because state law won't allow that. There was a very robust public process on this, got great feedback from both the industry and the community, and looking forward to the public hearing. So we'll go through this really quickly. I'll hand it over to Ms. Camacho.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This slide is a summary of the public feedback we received on the short-term rental ordinance. In November, we held 2 public meetings, one virtual with 40 attendees, one in person with 11 attendees. A survey was also available at the public meetings and was also posted on Tempe Forum. The feedback received at the public meetings are consistent with the results of the survey. The survey had 316 responses, with more than 80% supporting the license requirement and fee, neighbor notification, emergency contact response to complaints, liability insurance requirement, and suspension of a license for up to 12 months for violations of the short-term rental ordinance. 69% supported sex offender background check, and more than 70% supported civil penalties for failure to obtain a license or for verified violations of the short-term rental ordinance. The proposed ordinance before you tonight fully implements the provisions of Senate Bill 1168. It includes a requirement to obtain a business license to operate a short-term rental in Tempe and pay a fee of $250. It includes a requirement to notify neighbors prior to posting the short-term rental for rent for the first time. Also a requirement of liability insurance of at least $500,000. This requirement will be met if the short-term rental is offered through an online lodging marketplace that provides equal or greater liability insurance coverage. It also includes a requirement for the emergency contact to respond to emergencies within 15 minutes or 24 hours for non-emergency complaints. A requirement for sex offender background check on the booking guest. This requirement will also be met if the online lodging marketplace performs the background check. And civil penalties, including license suspension for verified violations of the short-term rental ordinance.
Mayor, I'll just make one comment on this one. One of the things that we looked at is what are other cities doing as far as adopting their short-term rental ordinance. We tried to be as consistent as we could with other cities, just to provide the industry with consistency and to allow just ease of operations for the industry mainly. And so this last one is really the next steps. As you can see, we're almost through the process. Again, this process began really in the spring and summer of this year when we convened a group of city staff, went through, presented an October work study session, and then had a full month of public outreach, including presentation to the Neighborhood Advisory Commission. First public hearing, December 15th. Here we are tonight, January 5th, with a March 2023 effective date of the ordinance. And with that, we'll answer any questions, Mayor, members of council, and then we request you open the public hearing.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation. Council, any comments or questions for Tom and Lisette? Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, I have a few speaker cards for this item, so I'm going to go ahead and call those up in the order that they were received. The first speaker this evening is Michael Martin. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening. I'm Michael Martin. I live at 1953 East Calle de Arcos in Tempe, and I represent the Tempe Tourism Office. So tonight, on behalf of the Tempe Tourism Office, I would like to express our support of the City of Tempe's plan to adopt an ordinance related to the short-term and vacation rentals. Tempe receives nearly 4 million visitors annually, and we are grateful that they have a variety of accommodations available to them during their stay. We also want to ensure that there are tools in place for the city to create a safe and law-abiding environment for both our residents and our visitors. We also realize that there are a number of questions regarding the extent of the vacation rental properties in Tempe. Recently, we were able to secure data through a research provider that provides total number of active listings on a monthly basis for both the citywide and each individual zip codes within the city. With this information, we're able to determine key metrics such as average occupancy, daily rate, and revenues. And to give you an example, a recent vacation rental statistic shows that as of December 2022, Tempe had 1,206 active listings, an average occupancy of about 63% through the calendar year 2022, and an average daily rate of $217 through 2022. Of course, we will be glad to share these and other data points with the city staff moving forward to help supplement the data they already have on hand. And while the hotel industry self-reports their key data points, it is not the case with vacation rentals. The research we have is actually a result of this third-party company scraping data from major online booking platforms such as Vrbo and Airbnb. So while the vacation rental data is not 100% accurate like it would be on the hotel side, it is the most reliable source of research that we have to date. It is clear that vacation rental properties will continue to have a presence in our community. We believe that the ordinance being proposed is a step in the right direction and will open the opportunity for greater measurement of the impact for vacation rentals on the city of Tempe. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Really appreciate it. Next speaker I have is Lisa Emery Mazzacavallo.
That's me.
That's you?
I have too many questions, forget it.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, next speaker I have this evening is Sebastian Pino. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, and thank you for the time. My name is Sebastian Pino. I live at 100 West Bolero Drive in South Tempe. During the course of this particular item, this is now my 4th meeting that I've attended on this particular subject. Not only did I attend the virtual in mid-November, I personally met with both Tom and Lisette in downtown Tempe. Really much appreciated that, and then last month's meeting and then today. My concerns are generated really more along the lines of the violations. I currently am a long-term rental owner, not a short-term, but I am considering moving into that direction, which is why I'm attending this particular council meeting. The concerns that I've mentioned are centered on violations, most particularly in regards to the response to complaints within 1 hour, and then for non-emergency complaints within 24 hours. Being an owner of a long-term, if I'm not contacted or the amount of time that it maybe takes before I'm notified could definitely hamper my ability to be able to go ahead and respond in that period of time. A concern that I have is if I don't, I'm immediately fined for this. Now, at the onset of this, I had expressed this concern around the fact that it appeared that it was financially generated, but I've been assured that it's really more than anything else about safety. That being said, I am very critical, and I would ask that the council be very critical on all the costs and hidden fees that are associated with this before you actually make a decision on this. I've seen lots and lots of data. I'm a data guy. I'd like that. I'm still looking for a lot of data within the survey, et cetera. One thing that I would like to go ahead and mention, and something that Lisette had mentioned with regards to the respondents, was 82% of support 82% support neighbor notifications and emergency and contact response within the complaints. I think the way the questions were actually raised could have been asked a little bit differently. I'm an advocate for it, but if the question had been raised within a survey of the complaint or the respondent needs to respond within 1 hour, or would you prefer that they be notified within 15 hours, 24 hours, 2 days, et cetera, I think it would give us a little more granularity to determine and say whether the respondents are actually advocates for or against each and every one of these, rather than just saying 82% supported fully. So again, it's a data-driven thing, and the way the questions were asked, I think, could have been a little more detailed before the respondents came back the way that they did. Because it does come across in the presentation as if everybody's a big advocate for it. While I'm an advocate, it's really a, how far along that scale am I an advocate? And those others that actually responded back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The next speaker I have is Lane Caraway. Please come forward, state your name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, Lane Caraway, 1422 North Sunset Drive. I applaud you guys for doing this, but I don't see enough teeth in it and what actually is the catalyst for these fees and fines. I don't see that in, it seems like it's a little vague. And for habitual offenders, I'm going to point out my lovely neighbor next door at 1424 North Sunset Drive. Since buying this home, he made it into a party house for himself. He's now has his Airbnb almost every other weekend. We have the police. This past Saturday, we had a garage limo bus. You could hear on Scottsdale Road the bass coming out of it, pull in front of our home. The driver went out and asked the driver to turn the bass down, the music off. Then I asked, he told me, what do you think? It's a party bus. 24 individuals got out of that bus, not counting the ones that were already in the house. One urinated in my front yard, went into my flower bed, and peed on my front wall. It's all on camera and all welcome. There seems to be this issue that the neighbor, Mr. August Kelly, that owns this property, feels he bought a home, he can do whatever he wishes, and there's no consequences. So I'm hoping with this that the city will get this passed, get it going, but I feel like there's not enough teeth, the fines aren't strict enough. When you have a habitual person who thumbs his nose up at every issue when it comes to the city of Tempe, he pissed off within the first week everybody in the cul-de-sac and across the street because he constantly has Ubers coming and going 24/7, people taking up our whole parking spaces in the cul-de-sac and on the main street with total disregard for the community. And I applaud you again for doing this, but I would like to see what constitutes a violation, what constitutes the fees. It's not really, I could not find it. So we can clarify that, but let's get it passed and work on the details later. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carroy. Really appreciate it. Next speaker I have is Marla McDermott. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, everyone. This is my first council address. I am Marla McDermott. I moved here about 1.5 years ago from Philadelphia. I'm Lane's neighbor in Cavalier Hills. My husband and I purchased our first rental property as an Airbnb about 1 mile from here. We are viewing it as our retirement plan. I've reviewed all of the policies, the proposed policies, and everything seems totally reasonable and rational. I also, since I live here, I don't want to live next to a party house, and I love the house that we're building. I just came from painting it, actually, by the way. So the only thing I had a concern about, which was the point of doing the background checks for sexual offenders. That also was, it seemed to be the least supported in the survey. I have many questions on that, but it just seems to be like a requirement that just seems illogical to me, because we don't require hotels for their guests to do, if their guests are coming in for one night, we don't require hotels to provide the community with the same kind of background checks, because our spaces are basically like hotel rooms. If we have a party of, my house can have 8 family members. If they're on vacation for a week, I don't see how sustainable it is for us renters or us owners to do background checks on hundreds of guests every year, and I just don't understand the validity of that requirement. And I also have questions about it, but I don't know if I have time now to ask the questions or if that's for a separate Q&A.
I can actually ask a couple of the questions to staff but if you want to keep going, you can, or I can call up staff and ask them, or.
Who's staff? I'm sorry, who's?
So Tom Dunsing and Lisette Camacho, who gave the
Okay.
presentation, so.
Is that because other cities don't have that, like Scottsdale doesn't require it. So I also think that we should just, first order of business, my thought would be just to see what the best practices are of other successful communities and what they're doing. And that one requirement of the sexual offender list background check just seems to be unnecessary. And so I just, for the record, I just don't, and it also, that costs money every time. If I have someone staying for one night and I charge, let's say, $100, and that costs $35 to do a background check on that, then that eats the cost of, so the cost of doing business, it just doesn't even make sense. I don't know how much it costs, but I mean, that's a price you have to pay. Who's going to monitor this? Like, who's going to ask, like, hundreds of guests for all of us? Every time you have a guest, who's going to be monitoring that? That costs the city to have someone to monitor this. I mean, I can go on and on about my, the reason why I think this should not be a part of the policy.
That's good. Okay.
So,
Any questions, or?
Oh, there I am, 3 minutes. Nell, is there a separate Q&A besides that question? Is there a separate Q&A?
No, this would be it, actually, for the public comment section. Councilmember Keating,
I was saying, can we refer her to the staff to have them follow up with her directly?
I mean, at this point, it's not just for me. I want the whole community to understand, like, what, and is there an opportunity to discuss things and have them not be included, or what is included, or is that?
I was going to actually ask some of those questions right now, actually, before the council actually takes the vote, so.
Okay, great.
So,
And one other question, separate from that, have we been informed what the tax will be? Because I think it's fine for everyone, for us owners to provide the $250 a year license, but has it been decided or discussed where that money is going to be earmarked for? Because I think it would be great if we understand if that's going to be in a pot that could be distributed for a specific fund. That would be important for us to know.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, I appreciate it. Tom, Lisette, could I ask, actually, I see one more card. I'll take this one card, then I'll bring you up. So, all right, the next speaker here is Jim McCulley. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Yes, hello, my name is Jim McCulley. My current residence is 9415 South 13th Way in Phoenix. I do have a property here in Tempe as well that is a short-term rental. And I just wanted to address the council with all due respect. I think with most of the conditions of this new ordinance, they're all doable, but as the last speaker mentioned, having to do a background check on each person who rents from us would be unrealistic. We own an Airbnb in Cuesta Vida condos. We have one unit. We have friends together. There are about 5 of us. It is a very quiet complex around University, just west of the freeway 101. The reviews that we're all super hosts. The reviews that we all get is that it is a wonderful, quiet, safe place. And it seems very unfair to me, for whatever reason, to put that type of requirement in there. I've checked with the Airbnb support team, and they have said that it is very hard to do this type of a background check when people are coming from so many diverse places around the country and even around the world. The reporting is different in each location, and even when you can get a report back on a person, it may be that the information is not even current because they, in their records as of such and such a date, they didn't have any offenses, but within the last month, they could have had an offense. And so it's very, very, very difficult to apply that type of requirement evenly and justly across the board. And I think it's very unfair that owners and residents of very quiet, serene communities have to abide by the same standards as somebody who has a place along Mill Avenue. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCulley. Really appreciate it. Let me see before I bring staff back up if there's any other people in the audience wishing to address the council on this item. If so, get my attention, please. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Tom, Lisette, do you mind joining for a quick second here? So just a couple of questions. One, because I know the concept of sort of best practices of other cities was raised, and I think even Scottsdale was referenced by one of the speakers, I believe. I could be wrong about this, but I did think that Scottsdale did, along with the liability insurance and a couple of other items, that they also are requiring sex offender checks as well. So, I mean, I believe that, I think they adopted that back in late October, I believe. So that would be consistent, I think, right?
Mayor, members of the council, yes, you are correct. Scottsdale did adopt the sex offender background check of the booking guest.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, Councilmember Keating? Oh, no, go for it. It's okay.
Out of curiosity, what is the mechanism in which they do that? How does that get done?
Mayor, members of the council, I think I can address that. From what we understand, the online marketplace is actually going there. One of the things in state law basically says if they do it, we are prohibited from requiring the owner to do it because they do it on the owner's behalf. So the online marketplace is actually going there. From what I understand, and I've gone on and done it myself, you can go on the National Sex Offender Database, and it's an easy search. I searched my name, nothing came up, and it is a fairly easy way to do it. There are also Arizonans for Responsible Tourism, which is a group that is helping the short-term rental owners implement the requirements. It's Senate Bill 1168, but other cities, like I said, we're all adopting the same requirements, and they're there to assist the best way for short-term rental owners to be able to comply with this, including sex offender background checks.
Yes, please.
So I'm reading an article here that says that Airbnb has been doing background checks on all hosts and guests since 2016. And they actually upped that in 2022 to be more thorough. It was my understanding, and this is bad on me, that we had settled on the fact that Airbnb was already doing this as kind of just good enough. I guess I was mistaken. So I guess the question is, say I own an Airbnb, which I don't. That would be nice too, but I don't. And I run a background check on my guest, Nick Papagiorgio, and I see that he is not, or maybe he is on the sex offender list. What proof do I have to submit to say that I even did it?
Mayor, members of the council, the ordinance specifically states that the short-term rental owner or their designee should go into the Department of Justice's website to check for the background check within no later than 24 hours before every stay. So the requirement for the City of Tempe's ordinance is to retain that record. It could be electronic or a printout for 12 months, and then it should be available for review by the city during business hours.
So it's not an approval process. It's more of a, hey, if something happens, just to show that I tried type of thing, right?
That's correct. And really the idea of all this is safety for the neighborhoods is the big thing. There's much discussion on how did this get in there. It seems relatively not related to all the other requirements. It is a little bit, from what I understand, it is a little bit different than hotels. Hotels are contained, oftentimes security, whereas short-term rentals are different spots just throughout the neighborhoods. And that's my understanding of why this requirement's even in there.
Is there a cost associated with this federal background check?
No.
No, so it won't cost the renters or it won't cost anybody anything?
That's correct. I did it and it just took, to go in there and do it, and it took a couple minutes.
So it's really just a matter of time.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was actually my extra question, Councilmember Keating, so you totally got it. Vice Mayor Adams.
Just for clarification purposes, so the other cities in the valley do have this going into effect, is that correct? Because there was some say that, I know that you said Scottsdale has it, so just for the person that came up earlier that said Scottsdale didn't have it, but it sounds like Scottsdale has it, but what about the other cities involved?
Mayor, members of the council, Paradise Valley has it also, but it's for all guests, not just the booking guest. Mesa did not incorporate it in their ordinance.
And Scottsdale did.
In Scottsdale.
What about Phoenix?
Mayor, members of the council, I believe Phoenix is just in the process of adopting their ordinance. We can take a look at it.
Okay, what about Chandler?
No.
Not sure. Okay. All right. And it would be just for the people that are booking? It wouldn't be for whoever's coming over for whatever?
That's correct. Just the booking guest.
Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Sounds good. All right. Anyone else, any further questions or comments for staff? Councilmember Garland.
I just have a comment. I mean, I think doing this for the booking guest is great. I know that it was mentioned that this is just like a hotel. This is very different from a hotel. This is, the short-term rental could be next door to my house with 4 kids in my house and 3 kids across the street or whatever. It's very different because you're inviting strangers into my neighborhood when you have short-term rentals. And so I know that everybody wants to do their best to get the best people in those short-term rentals because they want their homes to be taken care of. They want to be respectful to their neighbors. I know that, but it's very different from a hotel. You're inviting strangers into my neighborhood, and so I see the difference there. So, I know that at one time when we were originally talking about this, we said we wanted to do it for everybody that was going to be there renting or being a part of that rental for that week or day or whatever it was going to be in these properties, and then we moved it to just the booking. And I'm comfortable with that, but I'm glad we're at least doing that because, again, this is inviting people into the neighborhood, and I just want us to be as safe, and I want our neighbors and our residents to be as safe as possible. So I really appreciate what you guys have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Councilmember Chin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to confirm something. You stated, I think you stated, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, that this ordinance and these similar ordinances were crafted in collaboration with the short-term rental professional organization?
That's correct. The short-term rental industry actually helped craft the legislation that went to the state, and that's what we're modeling the ordinance after.
Sounds good. Thank you. Councilmember Hodge.
Okay, thank you for the presentation earlier. I just want to echo what some of my council members are saying. Tempe is a city that the neighborhoods are also where the schools are at. And even though we do have neighbors with friends, you may have a neighborhood that doesn't have any kids, but I guarantee you is a school not too far behind front of it. So I think that to take that extra step, because I was one of the people who wanted the sex offender, I'm gonna be honest and say that, because I have a big concern about what happens to our children. And I wanna reiterate it. I know that they were talking about the hotels. Hotels are never in neighborhoods. Hotels are not, you can't find too many hotels directly across the street or right down the way from a school. So it makes the difference of putting that in a different pocket versus where we have our neighborhoods where our kids are playing, riding bikes all day long. And not just we have to think about our children, we also think about our elderly too. And they can be affected by this also. So I just think that this is a great thing that we are putting it in there. And I do understand it may take a couple more minutes to do, but it's also for the safety of our community of all ages. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hodge. Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that once this is adopted, that we put on our website, and I know we will, but I just want to put it on the record, that this is the website you go to. This is what is acceptable here. It's not Googling Randy Keating. It's you have to go to this website, get this result, and keep it for a year. And this is the process, and anything else is not adhering to that process. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor, Councilmember Keating, thank you for bringing that up. We will absolutely work with any short-term rental owner. Our goal is compliance, plain and simple, as with other cities. We're not out here to be the heavy hand. We're out here just to get compliance, and we'll answer any questions. We'll make ourselves available, most certainly.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you. Vice Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you very much. Another concern I have is the human trafficking problem that we have in this valley. And I think that it's good to have the background checks because of that problem. And we have the Super Bowl coming this year. We had the Fiesta Bowl. We have the Waste Management Golf Tournament coming in. And so I think it's a really big concern of our human trafficking, and this is a great way for human trafficking to take place. So I'll be supporting this measure this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Adams. Anyone else on council? Any other further comments or questions? All right.
No, so move.
Oh, sounds good. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. It's been moved by Councilmember Hodge and seconded by Councilmember Keating. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes unanimously, 7-0. The next item under the section is 8C3, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of a utility easement agreement to Arizona Public Service Company over certain city-owned property identified by APN 132-27-355 and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an easement agreement and related documents. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council members, any other comments or discussion? All right, if there are none, I'd look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Hodge, seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote.
Aye.
That item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8C4, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of a power distribution easement to Salt River Project Agricultural Improvement and Power District over certain publicly owned right-of-way located on Alameda Drive, and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an easement agreement and related documents. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the city council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Been moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item also passes 7-0. The last item under the section is 8C5, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of 2 power distribution easements to Salt River Project Agricultural Improvement and Power District over certain city-owned land located at 2200 West Alameda Drive, and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute easement agreements and related documents. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Moved by Councilmember Hodge. Do I have a second? Seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. That brings us to item number 9, current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I will call upon the council members for their comments in alphabetical order, as I always do. And with that, I'm going to turn to Vice Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few announcements this evening. The first is the Tempe Holiday Recycling. In this holiday season, we have a 25% increase in trash, and one of the largest reasons is because of the Christmas trees. But we can do something about it. We can recycle them and put them in compost. So from now until January 30th, you can go to 1001 North Rio Salado Road and recycle your Christmas trees. So bring them on down and we'll compost them and put them to good use. Second announcement is we are now developing Tempe General Plan 2050. So we're looking for residents to participate. As you know, the city of Tempe prides himself in being inclusive, and this is a great opportunity for residents to participate. So on January 19th, we're going to have a virtual meeting at noon, or you can go to the in-person meeting on that same day at Tempe History Museum from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Please register online if you want to do the virtual meeting. So that's, once again, that's January 19th. You can do a noon virtual, or you can do in-person at the museum. My next announcement is Tempe FanCon. Tempe FanCon is coming to Tempe January 28th at the Tempe Public Library, and it is free. Best news ever. To learn more, and it will be at the Tempe, you can go to the Tempe Public Library's event page, and that can tell you everything that you need to know. And I want to just make an important note that the Wags and Whiskers event is online only. They don't want you bringing your pets to the library, but you can dress them up in your favorite superhero costumes and submit them online for a contest. So let's see who wins the Wags and contest, Wags and Whiskers. So anyway, I guess it could be a cat or a dog from the looks of it. And that will be announced on January 11th. So please get those in before that time. And like I said, go to Tempe Public Library's events page to find out more information about it. But please participate. All right, thank you very much. Those are the end of my announcements, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Adams. Next up, we have Councilmember Chin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder that the next Sustainability and Economic Vitality Council Committee will be meeting here in council chambers next Wednesday, January 11th at 3 p.m. You can participate either in person or virtually via WebEx. And I wanted to talk about one of our local nonprofits that I had the opportunity to visit recently. If anyone has a new bicycle that they acquired over the holidays, or an old bicycle that they want to tune up, or made resolutions about volunteering in our community, this is an organization that focuses on community education, bike safety, repair, and recycling of bicycles. And they offer classes to teach you how to fix your bicycles, or if you want to volunteer and help fix bicycles. You can learn more at their website, but a great local nonprofit.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilmember Chin. Next up, Councilmember Garland.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first one I have up is I am really, really honored to be on a panel with some other incredible people for a discussion on land stewardship from an Indigenous perspective. We will discuss and focus on the lessons to be learned from ancient and modern traditions of land stewardship from an Indigenous perspective. And this is going to be on January 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the gallery at Tempe Center for the Arts. It is free, but you need to make reservations. So if you go to tempecenterforthearts.com, you can get some more information. I hope that you will join us. It'll be a really interesting evening. The other topic that I have is that I have my backstage pass, which will be really, really cool. Saturday, January 21st, it's going to be at 10 a.m. And we are going to have Dave Muncie, who is an award-winning TV weatherman from Tempe, Arizona, is going to be there, and he's going to talk about the 2 books that he has written, one adult book and one kid book. And he will be there, and then we'll get some information about the library, get a little bit of a tour. So I hope that you can join us Saturday, January 21st at 10 a.m. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Next up, Councilmember Hodge.
Okay, thank you. We have our MLK Diversity Awards on Monday, January 9th. And you can still get your tickets. I think we still have some left for $10. It's a very good price. We have, you can see all on the account, you can see who all won. I just want to give a personal shout out to Ron Ragland, the youth who actually worked on my campaign, and now he's going to be honored, so I'm excited to say his name out. Congratulations. Next. And Marcos Denisa is having a mariachi concert on January 14th at 7:30. It's for $10, but it's really for a great cause. They're actually trying to raise money to go to Orlando, Florida, for a big concert, which would be something special because it has never been a mariachi band from the city of Tempe that actually has went out of state to do something like this. So this would be a big event. I don't have any more slides, but I'll just want to say my Breakfast with Burdetta is January 28th. It's going to be at Escalante at the Multi-Generation Room. It starts at 10 o'clock to 11:30. We do have, are you going to talk about the work first, Benedict? Okay, so we do have our next committee meeting on January 30th with Councilmember Keating, and it's at 3 p.m. It's in the chambers. We will have it, it will be here in person and on virtual. I also want to say that we, for Tempe Pre-K, we have opened up applications starting January 12th. So if you know anyone who wants to put an application in, who needs a spot for pre-K, it opens up then. And I just want to congratulate that we had our official swearing in today of all our statewide candidates, from Governor Hobbs all the way down to Chris Mays, Secretary Adrian Fontes, Kimberly Yee, and and Tom Horn. Yes, so congratulations to all of them. And I do apologize, I couldn't remember his name, I don't know why, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hodge. Next up, I've got Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just ask that people keep my family in their thoughts. I received news last night that my father had a diabetic seizure while driving, which resulted in a pretty bad car accident. He's currently at the hospital that I was born in. Good news is my brother is an ICU nurse there. It's my understanding he's having surgery tomorrow. Should be okay. Just want to put it out there. So, thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Keating. Councilmember DeBar.
I have none, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, so I don't have any announcements other than saying, Councilmember Keating, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with your father, so. Anyone else, anything? Okay, sounds good. With that said, I'm going to move on to item number 10. Once again, public appearances. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council? If so, please come forward and state your name and city of residence for the record. Seeing none, I will close that item. We are adjourned at 7:22 p.m. The next regular City Council meeting is scheduled for January 26, 2023. We're adjourned.